Alright, so after so much Mandalorian trouble, the Jedi decided to go to Korriban to see if there was any sort of Sith uprising taking place, or return of the Sith, uh, to see if that's why the Mandalorians were acting so evil. They went to Korriban, the Padawans, the evil tree, the serial killer droid, and their insect alien friend Bartok, and yeah, they fought some weird dark side force beasts. Uh, Animals that were naturally capable of resisting force and using it to some degree that were already enraged. And they also collected some force artifacts. And yeah, not really a lot to comment on. Nothing really stood out. I just downloaded the maps of the Korriban levels from the Knights of the Republic games, and there were no Sith on Korriban at the time. So, it wasn't really a whole lot there. But then they decided to go after the astromech droid, the T3 Elites creator, after finding some background data in the droid zone programming about the secret location of his creator, or maybe his creator tried to contact him and bring him back to his creator's secret base or location, which was in an asteroid field. They got a special astrogation chart and were able to find the needle in the haystack of the asteroid base in an asteroid field. And the astromech droid had to leave its larger body, the war droid, behind because it couldn't fit through the hallways of the size that it was with its body. It had to shrink its body down to size to fit through the door. And and they fought through the entire base, destroying droids, uh, and eventually they got to the last room before the creator boss battle. And what happened was the creator used a poisonous gas on them, so all they had to do was breathe, and they would just eventually pass out. And then once they were passed out, the creator put them all in force cages, and the insect friend that they were traveling with onto a dissection table, and was telling the astromech droid to kill all of its friends because it wasn't allowed to have these. And the astromech droid was willing to kill its friends. It didn't actually have any feelings of attachment or companionship or fellowship with the Padawans, the bounty hunter, the ship's pilot. Oh, and the ship's pilot was actually hoisted up into a gyroscope and electrocuted over and over again as a form of torturing the Jedi. The creator of the serial killer astromech droid thought that all he would need to do to torture the Jedi was to torture their star pilot, because that alone should have been painful enough on them to watch another being in a state of pain in order to break their spirits and make them talk. Or, of course, he wasn't actually looking for any information from them, so he was actually just tormenting the Jedi and the ship's star pilot. And so the creator decapitates the insect alien and then releases the insect alien from its bindings and drops it to the floor. And then the astromech droid's about to kill all the Jedi, and the insect alien picks up its own decapitated head and then smashes the control console that it happened to be right next to, which freed all the Jedi from their force cages. And one of the Jedi Padawans or Jedi Knights at this point, he was in Serenity, and he had two hearts, a heart in his chest and a heart in his head, and his name was Grema Bisto. And he destroyed all the droids in the room, and then they destroyed the astromech droid's creator. And what they didn't realize is this activated a self-destruct sequence in the asteroid base, and when they were about to destroy the serial killer droid, they realized that they needed to talk to it and explain to the droid that it had a mutually beneficial existence with them, and that they needed it to deactivate the self-destruct sequence, and they basically needed to let bygones be. And so the astromech droid stops the self-destruct sequence, saving everyone again. And everyone's super excited to now have a secret asteroid base. So the base had 4 capital ships and was stocked with droids. But the SAR pilot, who was a Zabrak, who had won the serial killer droid in a game with the Zak, he was very upset about how the Jedi just sort of let him be tortured, and how they were all sort of sharing in the loot that he felt that only he was entitled to, having already won the droid in a game with Zak. So he took the asteroid base to self-destruct again once everyone had left, and took the 4 capital ships and sold them to the Hutts and Outer Rim planets. And yeah, he did that in secret, and everyone thought it was the droid that did that. So everyone was mad at the droid player, but it was actually a different player. It was their star pilot that had to trade them. And I tried to keep that from the rest of the group for as long as I could. And I guess next time we'll be talking about how the Mandalorian Wars ended, and how we actually just sort of, I was going to take him into Knights of the Republic 2, and the most powerful Jedi in the group, the only person I chose to play is a human Jedi. I was going to try and make him be the Jedi Exile, but that didn't really end up taking place. And then the whole thing kind of ended up stopping after like a year of flying, but everyone had gotten to like level 23 by the end. And was before we stopped flying, people had like Cordyceus armor, black vibro blades, space suits with energy shields, huge battle droids that they could ride through hyperspace, and yeah, and they never actually felt that strong because at every session they were always going up against a more powerful threat. So, uh, we were going to be going on for like one more session of explaining everything we did in Star Wars RPG before we just stop and start playing Dungeons and Dragons, because I don't know, like for some reason 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons just sort of seemed like a nicer state of trance than Star Wars. Star Wars was actually a really dark place. It was all just wars and battlefields, military ranks, or religious orders. How much of a character can you have in such a setting? And then everything's actually so expansive that it actually hurts your imagination to continue to try and imagine entire worlds that are in advanced states of technology that are actually not actually there to research because it's sci-fi. Well, that's all I have to say about that.